here's the starter motor. In order to open it, you just have to unscrew these two Phillips screws here on the end. When you get the motor open, you may have to hammer on this end of the rotor to be able to separate this piece from this piece here to get it off. Now, I don't see any oil inside of this motor, so the only issue I see is right here where the rotor contacts the brushes. It looks like it's very badly corroded. Maybe not corroded, but tarnished. So I'm going to go ahead and clean that up and put this motor back together and see if it works. Because right now, the motor is not working at all. Got the rotor cleaned up with some sandpaper. See, you can actually see the copper now. And I took out each of the brushes and sanded down the ends to clean that up too. Now we're going to put it back together. So you got to take this end, stick it in here. You're going to have to play with it to get it in around the brushes because they're spring loaded. So you have to push them back against the spring to get them to touch here again. Put the rotor back and around the brushes. Now, it's tricky to put it back in because the magnet will want to pull this out. So you're going to have to hold on to this. You could even put a pair of vice grips on this so it doesn't rip it out when you're putting it back inside this part here. And make sure you don't lose your rubber seals that go in there too. When you get the rotor back inside this part, right here, inside of here, a small little notch. See it? You have to line that up with that little hole there. Very important thing to remember is there's this tiny little ball bearing. It goes in here and attaches on the end of the, it goes inside there on the end of the rotor. That has to be put back in there too. Before you loosen up the two bolts that hold the motor, you need to loosen up the bolt for the negative wire. Otherwise you won't be able to unscrew it once you get the motor out. Okay, now positive wire goes up here on the top. Make sure you don't lose that little tiny bolt there. You can screw it right back into there if you want. Reconnect that. Reconnect the negative wire and the two bolts. And then we'll see if the starter motor is working any better. So the problem with this bike not starting was this green wire here goes into the harness. It popped out. And I pushed it back in and just checked it now, and I don't know if you can hear it, but when I turn the key you can hear the fuel pump working now. So that's it. That was the whole reason this bike wasn't starting, but the starter motor is working really good now too.